Hello and welcome back to the Listening Lounge. My name is Nick Day. I'm CEO of JGA Recruitment, specialist payroll and HR recruiters. Now, right now, there is so much noise going on social platforms, on the internet, that it can be really hard to be heard. So I want you all right now, if you're watching this, to relax those ears, take a moment, because they say the quieter we are, the more we hear, and the more we listen, the more amazing stories we can discover. And I've got a great guest with us today. I've got Stuart Hall, a company director with over 40 years experience. I've known him for the 20 years I've been working in payroll recruitment. He is an absolute legend in the profession. He's launched and sold many successful payroll and HR businesses. His approach has always been aiming for excellence and innovation. He's not afraid to disrupt the market now and again if he thinks there's a product or a solution that can improve performance or employee engagement. So I'm really happy to have him on the call. Having recently sold his most recent software venture, Stuart's now developing his own radio show. He's always been a very accomplished musician who's played trombone at an international level. He's also an executive director at the Chartered Institute of Payroll Professionals. So Stuart, amazing to have you on the show. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really well, Nick, and thanks for that introduction. And a good mention for the trombone. I've been able to play the trombone quite a lot during this COVID pandemic, only to myself, of course.
Sure. I had to get it in there because you're so accomplished. I'm sure it's going to come out in this conversation somewhere. So let me jump into the first question, because I'm going to keep it on my side of the fence, recruitment focused, because for you in particular, now, actually, let me go back a little bit. When it comes to recruitment, I'm always keen to discover and understand how someone has performed at an interview. Obviously, it's something we're arranging every single day. And I have heard some amazing interview stories during my time, but there is one in particular that really stands out. And it happens to be with my guest today, which is you. So I wondered, without me giving anything away, if you could share with all of my listeners and anyone watching your interview story. And I know you'll know which one I'm referring to.
I think you're referring to the one when I left school. I left school when I was 15. I had no qualifications. I really wasn't interested in kind of getting qualifications or anything like that. And at that time, going back many years ago, you could leave before you took any of the exams. So at the age of 15, I left school. All I wanted to do was have a career in music. And I wanted to join the British Army and join one of the big military bands. But I wasn't quite old enough. So I had to go and find a job because my parents said, there's no way you're going to stay at home. Now, we lived on the far outskirts of Manchester, really in a village. So apart from a couple of village shops, there wasn't anything else really I could do other than work on a farm. So one day I looked in the paper and there was a job advert. So I rang the farm and I said, applying for look for the job there. And the farmer on the other end said, yep, okay, come along to the farm, 8 o'clock, Saturday morning. Make sure you wear some old clothes and make sure you got Wellington boots. I thought, well, yeah, it's a farm, obviously it's going to be a bit dirty. So I put my old clothes on. I cycled the 5 miles from home to the farm. That's the first thing. Got there just on 8 o'clock, found the farmer who had just come out the milking sheds. Milking had finished for the morning, and he's standing there with his son. Now, his son was probably then around about the age of 21, 22. The son went away, the farmer went away, and he just said, just wait there a moment. Round the corner came this tractor with a great big kind of pickup thing on the front. The farmer's son and myself stood on this pickup, and we got lifted into the air, and the tractor went along a little bit, and there was this great big muck heap that's the slurry from all the cows for the whole week.
Nice.
And he plonked us on top of this muck heap with a fork each, and all the steam was coming up, the smell was coming up. And the farmer took all the slurry for that week and started shoveling it and pushing it onto the top of the heap. And we had to spread it. Now, there was a few things I learned that morning. Number one is you don't stand still on a muck heap because you start sinking. And it's like foggy. And the more that you move around, the more that the heat comes up, the more that the smell comes up, the more that you get splashed, especially when the tractor dumps another load on there. And you're frantically moving this muck around. This lasted for about 10, 15 minutes, I would think. Then that job finished. We came back down to ground level, and the farmer looked at me and said, yep, you'll do. Monday morning, 8 o'clock.
Brilliant.
So I cycled all the way home, told my dad I've got a job. My dad was pleased. 8 o'clock Monday morning, I arrived at the farm. And as I arrived at the farm, parked my bike at the side of the cow sheds, walked into the cow shed, and the farmer did a double take. He went, "Oh, you're here." What I hadn't realised is for the previous 5 Saturdays, he'd had other boys arrive at the farm. He'd done the same routine, and not one of them had turned up on the Monday. So I was the first one to turn up. So yeah, so my first interview for a job was standing on top of a muck heap, spreading the stuff around.
Shoveling, yeah.
and then I was muggy enough to turn up again on the Monday. So that was
there's a pun in there somewhere. I daren't go there. There's definitely a pun in there somewhere. It's certainly an interview like no other.
Well, where there's muck, there's brass, apparently. So you can use that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you did then go on to achieve your dream. You had a career in the military before you moved into payroll.
Yeah.
The second question is this, really, because you've got a diverse career that I'd love you to share with my listeners here. And that is, has there been anything from your experiences, both working on the farm back in those days and in the military, that really helped you later in your business career, in your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, yes. Well, let's look at farming. The one thing you learn in farming that is nothing just happens. The cows don't just milk themselves. So no matter what day, and it's 365 days of the year as a farmer, you have to go out early morning, bring the cows in and get them all milked. And the same thing then repeats later on in the day. If to get that milk to market, the farmer's got to do something. I suppose the second thing would be the crops. Crops don't just grow on their own. Okay, you have to seed them, and there's an element of waiting for the weather, but somebody has to go out there and harvest it and prepare it and get it out to the market, if you like, etc. So you very quickly learn that things don't just happen on a farm. It's really, really hard work, and also you've got all the elements to deal with. So you could turn up one day and it's absolutely tipping it down with rain, but no matter what the weather, you still got to go out and get these jobs done. And I guess in the military life, the same thing there. I think the biggest thing that I learned was this old. Have you heard the quip about when a sergeant major gives you an order to jump, you ask how high when you're on the way up? Well, military life is just like that. I mean, one of my first lessons that I learned in military life was that each regiment has its own traditions. So one day, I was in the Grenadier Guards. So one day I'm at the depot and I'm learning to be a guardsman, if you like. And there's an order comes in. It says Stuart Hall to report to the sergeant major's office at 2:00. Well, I arrived with about 2 minutes to spare, and I got laid into by this sergeant saying I was late. And I looked at my watch and I said, no, there's 2 minutes to go before 2:00. And he went, no, Grenadiers are always 5 minutes before the allotted time. So it's always known as Grenadier time. Nice. So even my kids know that now. So every time we go somewhere, they go, is it real time, Dad, or is it Grenadier time? In other words, are we going to get there early? Now, part of that is because the Grenadiers were the first regiment of foot. They're the number one. They're the most senior. So they always have to be first. So to be first, you get there first. So I learned that that helped me in my business career, because, going out and visiting clients, if I said I'm going to be there at 2:00, I was there not only 5, but sometimes 10 minutes beforehand, always Grenadier time. And also, I guess with military life is that the number one big thing is you get given an order and you don't like it. And you just don't feel that's not the right thing. I should not be doing this. This is not right. I should not be cleaning this toilet. This is not for me. I didn't do anything wrong. What you have to do in military life is you do the job that's been given to you and you complain afterwards. You don't complain beforehand. And again, through business life, there's been lots of things that have happened to me where I've just shook my head and thought, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why should I need to do this? But what I've done is I've got on, done the job, wherever it happens to be, and then look at it afterwards and say, right, okay, if I don't want that to happen in my life again, what am I going to change? How am I going to change it? Who am I going to report this to if it needed to be reported? All that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think both in terms of working on the farm and in military life, I guess it installed the discipline of hard work, of graft, and also knowing that nothing just gets put on a plate. You've got to work for it. And I think I'd like to feel that I've proven that in my business life as well.
I think you definitely have. You've certainly proven it in the time that I've known you, and that's been nearly 20 years.